Hello, and welcome to the Alpha Male Podcast, the podcast where we talk about what it means to be an alpha male. Today, in this culture and society, in this time and this place, we get together in this virtual tribe and we don't apologize for what we are, made in the image of God, strong, dominant, and in control. Don't forget to like, subscribe, leave a review of the podcast, and check out goodshepherdtraining.com. If you want to skip the bio, skip around 3 minutes and 45 seconds. And then we'll get to the topic. First and foremost, I am a servant of God, preacher, a fisher of men. God is number one in my life, and everything that I do in this podcast is no different, and I don't apologize for that. A little bit about me in the background. I grew up, I guess what you would consider a heathen. Didn't grow up a Christian, but I grew up in the southeastern United States, what most would consider very poor. Hunting and fishing and shooting. Joined the Marine Corps at 17, did a couple of combat tours in Iraq. After my combat tours in Iraq, I was an urban warfare instructor for the United States Marine Corps under Mojave Viper. I also served in law enforcement for several years in LAPD. I worked patrol assignments and more specialized assignments, where by God's grace, He got me through some nasty places in this world of war zones and some of the nastiest streets in the country. Not because I am better, because God chose to have mercy on me and had a purpose for me, and I'm thankful for that. After my time in law enforcement, I was a private contractor for federal government, for a 3-letter government agency I won't specify, doing private contracting work. I'm very much involved in guns and gunfighting. I also served in the U.S. Army, both full-time and part-time National Guard. I should say my primary MOS is in both branches of the military or infantry, as of one sort or another. Specialized infantry in the Marine Corps and an MOS that no longer exists. I started competition shooting even before I joined the Marine Corps at 17. I won my first gold medal even before I joined the Marine Corps at 17. I've been blessed by God with the talents He's given me to win more shooting competitions than I can remember. I've won most of my competitions in rifle and pistol, but I've also competed in archery and shotgun and even muzzleloader, knife throwing, hatchet throwing. I've competed in all that. I've also been a professional big game hunter and guide. Like I said, I grew up hunting and fishing and shooting. I've done it to put meat on the table because I like to put food on the table with the talents God's given me. I don't apologize for that. I've done it as a professional hunter and guide. I've slain all manner of beast and guided for all manner of beast. Bear and wolf and elk and deer, mule deer, whitetail deer. I've slain ram and fallow deer and countless animals. And I don't apologize for that either. FBI certified, firearms instructor, NRA, and a bunch of other 3-letter government agency certifications. Blessed be the Lord my rock, who trains my hands for war and my fingers for battle. Psalm 144. I've been blessed to be the commander of a tactical team, an SRT, special response team, in a large metropolitan area, where our primary job was to stop active shooters. But again, first and foremost, I'm a servant of God, called by God to share the good news, preacher, a fisher of men. With that, we will roll into the day's topic. All right, men. We're going to try something a little bit different. Perhaps this will turn into a small series here on the Alpha Male Podcast. So let me know if you like it or not. I'm not really sure what we're going to call this. Thinking outside the box. Thinking critically. These are often things you hear bantered about what we're going to talk about today. I think a lot of what we think and how we act and who we are is shaped by culture and society. And perhaps it shouldn't be, because have you looked around at culture and society today? I'm talking about mainstream American culture and society. I'm going to go through a few examples. But the main thing is, I don't want you to just agree with me and what I say. I want you to think for yourself. Why is this thing the way that it is? Is that, first of all, right? We determine right and wrong based on the Word of God. Is it right? Is it wrong? Is it malum in se? Is it evil by nature? Is it evil in its very essence? Is it effective for me? Is it what I should be doing? You remember back when you were a kid and you'd ask your parents something and they'd say because? Because that's the way it is, because that's the way we've always done it, because I said so. You know, these, and I get why parents do that, they just get frustrated, but that's not a real answer. And if you're like me, that frustrates you when you hear that. Why do we do it this way? Oh, because that's the way we've always done it. Well, that doesn't mean it's the best way. It may be the best way. The way that you've been doing it may be the best way. But maybe it's not. And what if you just kept doing it an inefficient or wrong way because that's the way it was always done? That's what beta males do. That's what everybody else does. That's what the cows trudging around in society, they just go along with what everybody else does. That doesn't mean that you should be doing it. Again, there may not be anything wrong with it, but at least question it. One simple example, breakfast. You know, who decided that cereal is eaten for breakfast? Who decided that, you know, frickin' a heap of empty calorie pancakes covered in syrup was a good breakfast food? That doesn't make it healthy. It doesn't make it good for you. It doesn't make it a good choice for breakfast just because it's a breakfast food. Who decided that syrup, you know, just really concentrated sugar should go on pancakes if you're going to even eat pancakes or a waffle? Why not peanut butter? Peanut butter is healthy. It's got more nutrients. It's got protein. And a lot of you would probably like peanut butter better on your waffles than syrup. I'm not saying you have to have peanut butter on your waffles. I'm saying think about it. Why did somebody even decide that that's breakfast food? I like eggs. I eat eggs a lot. I eat eggs mostly for dinner. I could care less if society says eggs are for breakfast. My general go-to dinner that I cook at night is 10 eggs. I don't care that society says that's a breakfast food. It's not a breakfast food for me. And that's just a small example. If you want to eat whatever you want to eat, I'm not telling you to agree with me. I'm telling you to think, why is something the way that it is, as an alpha male? I'll give you several examples and one big example, as in hunting. In America, especially if you're a hunter, you know about hunting culture and the cool kid camo you gotta have and this thing and that thing, and this is how we hunt this, and this is how we hunt turkey, and this is how we hunt ducks, and this is how we hunt doves. And that comes from two main things in studying this and thinking about this. Hunting culture in and of itself, because this is the way we've always done it, and government regulations. Let's look at turkey hunting, for instance. There's all this talk about this super camo for turkey hunting and this super expensive, super heavy, different loads for shotguns and super specialty shotguns and specialty chokes and specialty ammunition. Well, even if you don't know what I'm talking about, don't worry about it. It's going to make sense. That's because government regulates you have to have this size shot for turkey. Well, what they did was, to get around that regulation or to make that regulation less restrictive, they make heavier and heavier shot, even heavier than lead, and super specialized shotguns to shoot. If you don't know, a shotgun is a fairly short-range weapon, but they try and push it and push it and push it out from 40 yards to 50 yards to 60 yards to 70 yards. Which kind of defeats the point of the regulation in the first place. Here's the point. That's not the best way to hunt turkey. That's not the most effective way to hunt turkey if you're trying to kill turkey. If you're trying to kill turkey, you go out in the woods first thing in the morning when the turkeys are in the trees. You spot them in the roost and you shoot them in the roost with a rifle or with something else, or with buckshot or something with a much longer reach. Now that's illegal. Don't do that. But I'm saying if your goal is to eat turkey, that's a way more efficient, way more effective way to eat turkey
than to go try and call them in when they're in mating season and shoot them in the face with a shotgun. You don't do that because it's the best way to shoot turkey. You don't hunt turkey that way because it's a good way to hunt turkey. You do it that way because of regulations placed on you by government and because of hunting culture. The same goes for duck hunting. You shoot generally, if you don't know about duck hunting, you go sit in a blind, and again, because of regulation, you use steel shot or some specialty kind of shot because lead is too dangerous. And you sit in a blind and you call ducks in and you put decoys out and they fly over and they think they're real ducks, and you call them in and they hear it and they see the decoys and they fly in, and when they're coming in, when they're flying past you, you shoot them out of the air. Again, we do this because government regulation and because hunting culture. That is not the best and easiest way to hunt ducks. If you want to hunt ducks, you wait till they all land, you get a really big gun with a lot of shot, and you shoot a bunch of them when they're in a small cluster on the water. Or you'd wait until they land and you shoot them with something like a 22 Magnum or a 22 Hornet. Again, when they're on the water, when they're relatively still. Don't shoot them flying out of the air with steel shot because that's the best way to hunt ducks. You do it for sport because it's fun. You might do it, again, because of government regulation and because of culture. That's not how you'd hunt ducks if you actually wanted to hunt ducks for food or for feathers or for whatever. Case in point, before those regulations were in place, that's not how we hunted ducks. Another thing, when I moved out west, when I moved to Idaho, there's still ducks there, and they hunt them very differently. They kind of spot and stalk hunt ducks. And I like that a lot better. And I could have done that legally growing up in Virginia. But I didn't because it wasn't even part of the culture, and I didn't even think about being able to do that. I hunted ducks the way that everybody hunted ducks. But there's other ways to hunt ducks, even legally. You can, low crawl on your belly up to where ducks are and jump shoot them, spot and stalk, for lack of a better term, hunting ducks. Let's look at something like deer hunting. With deer hunting, generally you go and sit in a blind or sit in a stand, or there's a lot of different ways to hunt deer. I like spot and stalk hunting, but you generally hunt big, mature bucks. Why? One, because that's the culture. Somebody decided it's cool to shoot a big, mature buck, and a big, mature buck is a pretty animal. I appreciate that. But if I wanted to actually hunt and put venison in the freezer, put venison on the table, that's not how I would hunt. I would hunt deer in the spring. And first of all, there wouldn't be a season. The season is when I'm hungry, I kill something and eat it. But, I would hunt the young, stupid, delicious deer that are more tender, easier to kill, and smaller. I don't have as much meat to deal with at one time. If I'm hunting for food, for meat, I don't care if it's a big buck or a doe or a youngling, a yearling deer with spots on it. They're delicious. It's illegal in most places, but some places still allow it. You would generally, instead of going out and sitting on a stand or whatever you would do, it's sometimes effective, especially in certain types of landscapes, the way we've hunted with our ancestors for who knows how many thousands of years. You get a bunch of guys together and you drive deer, and you have drivers and you have shooters. It's a pretty effective way to hunt deer. You have standers, you have drivers. They do it a lot in Europe. But if you wanted to hunt deer for food, that'd be a pretty legit way to do it. Again, we don't do it, one, because of culture and because of government regulations. And again, I'm not telling you to do these things. I'm telling you I don't think they're malum, and say they're not evil by nature. They're just restricted as in culture or government regulation says that you can't hunt this way, but you can hunt this way. As somebody that really enjoys hunting, but I primarily hunt for meat, to put meat on the table. If you say that I can kill a deer, what difference does it make how I kill that deer? I'm going to kill the deer either way. But anyway, I get off what I'm talking about. The point is, think about why we hunt the way we hunt. If your goal was to hunt, then you wouldn't hunt. If your goal was to put meat on the table, if you were starving, it would be kind of silly to hunt the way that we normally hunt here in the United States in today's hunting culture and society. It's not the most effective way to hunt. They generally put those seasons on because that's the time and the way that they're hardest to hunt. Again, if you really wanted to go and eat ducks, that's probably not the way you would hunt ducks. I'm not even saying there's an answer to that. You probably have to hunt ducks in Turkey the way that they make you hunt them. I'm just saying that realize that that's not the best way to do it. As an alpha male, question why it is the way it is. How does this apply to you? If you want to learn to hunt, let's say you want to learn to hunt for food, you probably don't want to learn to hunt and sit on a stand over a corn feeder. That's not going to be super helpful if you're talking about learning to hunt for survival. Whatever this applies to, it could apply to anything. I know almost nothing about golf other than you hit a ball with a stick and put it in the hole. But if there's a certain way that you can do something, perhaps it's prohibited by the rules. You can't do this because the rules say so. Perhaps there's a different way to do it. And again, I don't know much about golf. That's why I used a hunting analogy. But whatever the analogy is for you. I'll give you another one that kind of stands out to me is I like real soap, like soap made the real way with fat and salt and the way that it's been made for a long time. Most of the modern stuff you see is made with dilauryl sulfate or some other chemical that was a byproduct of the war industry. And if you look at shampoo and body wash and this soap and that soap, it's pretty much all got the same active ingredient. Do you really think there's a difference on your skin, on your hair between this one's shampoo and this one's body wash and this one's soap and blah blah blah? It's all the same thing. Why is it that way? Because marketing. Because instead of selling you one thing, they can sell you three things. Get 1 bar of soap and be done with it. Wash your hair with it, wash your armpits with it, wash your body with it. It's soap. I would encourage you to get actual real soap made without all the crazy chemicals and stuff. But whatever. If you're going to buy it, just buy one. Just buy a bar of soap and be done with it. The reason that is the way that is because marketing. Because most people don't look into it. They're like, oh yeah, that's body wash. I'll use it on my body. And this is shampoo. I'll use it on my hair when it's exactly the same ingredients. And I'll give a couple of rapid fire examples here. Look at the way we judge time in a calendar. Have you ever thought, this is for our American listeners, daylight savings time, why do we do it? You look into it and you're like, yeah, maybe there was a time when daylight savings time made sense. But you really got to question whether we should still do it. Does anybody actually like or benefit from daylight savings time anymore? Why do we keep it? Because tradition. Have you ever heard of the Julian Calendar? The first time I heard of it, I thought, why don't we do this? Why do we not do this? The Julian Calendar, but simply is this. The first day of the year is day 1. The last day of the year is day 365. Instead of saying, my birthday is on March 25th, I would say my birthday is on, you'd say my birthday is on day 95. I don't know if that's the actual day in the Julian Calendar, I just made that up. But you get the point. Day 7 will be a Sabbath. Day 14 will be a Sabbath. Day 21 will be a Sabbath. God mandates that. But the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, those are all holdovers from pagan idolatry. The months of the year, like, why? You ever just question why? There is another way to do it. Like I said, the first time I heard of the Julian Calendar, from day 1 to day 365, it would be so much easier to write dates. Less confusing if you ever looked at it and been like, is that the day or the month? The month and then the day. Been in the military, the military does it one way, civilians do it another way. There's really less confusion if you're like, it was day 77. Done. Day 77 in the year of our Lord 2022. Likewise, the 12-hour clock. Like, why not just 24 hours, just like the military does it? Because people are accustomed to 12 a.m., 12 p.m., 3 a.m., 3 p.m., but you could easily just say 1500. It wouldn't take very long before people were accustomed to it. So, in that case, it's not even really government regulation or anything. It's mostly just tradition. Just tradition. And most people don't even question why. They're just like, oh, Yup, it's that way. Here's another good example of how, you can change things and how things can change. You ever notice it's called a handgun, not a hands gun? Well, today, most people shoot a handgun when they can with both hands. There was a time, for a very, very long time, for hundreds of years, where it was in vogue and fashion to shoot with one hand. You shot a handgun with one hand. And for very accurate shooting, it was the custom to shoot one-handed. It lasted right up until, modern practical shooting competitions became a thing, and somebody grabbed it with both hands, and everybody realized, whoa, that's way more controllable, more accurate, faster to fire. Now we shoot it with two hands. It's still good to train. A good benefit of the handgun is you can shoot it with right-handed, left-handed, one hand only, with either hand. One of the perks of the handgun. But the vast majority of the time, if you can put two hands on a gun, you put two hands on a gun. Perhaps they should rename it the hands gun. Anyway, that's just an example of how things do change. How for a long time it was one way. You stood, 90 degrees to the target. Instead of facing the target, you held the pistol, the handgun out with one hand, and you fired and recovered and fired. Again, we don't do that anymore unless the rules dictate it, or it's like a stage on a qualification, or you have to shoot with one-handed because you have a baby in the other hand, or a 911 on the cell phone, or whatever the case may be. The vast majority of time, we've come to realize that a handgun is better in both hands. Anyway, these are just a few examples. I'm sure there are many more, but I think you get the point of the episode today. Again, question things. Think critically. If you guys like this, maybe we'll talk more about current topics. We'll talk about like COVID and masks and, the Ukraine and Russia thing and things like that. But I'm reluctant to do that because I don't want you to just agree with me. I want you to think critically and make up your own mind. Forget about what the news says. Only if it's true. Are they telling you the information because it's true and legit, or because they want you to think or react or feel a certain way and get you to react on those emotions? That's what the average American does. But you're an alpha male. You think for yourself. You think critically. Another example of this is, if you listen for a while, you know that I work out quite a bit. By God's grace, generally twice a day. Every day but Sabbath. If Sabbath starts and I don't get my second workout on that day and I don't work out on Sabbath. But the vast, vast majority, twice a day, I work out in addition to, working 50 hours something a week. And you'll see a lot of guys, a lot of people take a bunch of supplements pre-workout. Now, you could say that I take multivitamins, so that's a supplement, or I take protein powder when I don't have time to eat, so that's a supplement. That's about as supplementy as I get. I'm talking about all these crazy, I don't want to say crazy, but things people take. A lot of pre-workout, which is pretty much like caffeine and amphetamines to get them hopped up for a workout. Well, why are they taking that? Think critically. Well, because they're tired. And why are they tired? Probably because they're not getting enough sleep. So instead of taking drugs to get through a workout, why not just try and get more sleep? Again, thinking critically. Now, it behooves whoever makes a pre-workout to sell you this, sell you that to work out. But it'd be better, far better, if you just got the amount of rest that your body needed. So you didn't have to drug yourself to get through a workout. Get all hopped up on sugar and a ton of caffeine and whatever else they put in those things. Again, think critically. Think for yourself. Think why is something the way that it is. Think if there's a better way to do it. And maybe there is a better way and you're just not allowed to because the government, because of regulation, because company policy, because whatever. But at least know there's a better way. And if you can do something a different way, and even try it a different way as an alpha male, by definition, you can't be an alpha male if you do what everybody else does the same way, the same manner. Alpha males stand out. That's part of being an alpha male. And I think part of that is thinking critically. If men in the past hadn't thought critically, we probably wouldn't have, the electric light They'd say everybody heats their house and lights their house with fire. Might as well just keep doing that. You might not have things like, disinfectant. I sawed this guy's leg off, and then I saw 20 other guys' legs off, just like we did it 100 years before. Instead of thinking critically and be like, maybe I should wash my hands and wash my saw. Things like the internal combustion engine, things like the steam engine. Those came from, thinking outside the box, thinking critically, looking at something and asking, is there a better way that this can be done? Or why is this thing the way that it is? And apply that to your own life. Like I said, I know almost nothing about golf, but maybe apply that to golf. Maybe apply that to whatever process you're doing on your quarter 4 report. Maybe apply that at the breakfast table. Maybe, next time you go to the grocery store, think, yeah, I know I always get waffles, or I always get, I don't know, do people still eat Pop-Tarts? I don't know. Are you buying that just because that's what you've always eaten for breakfast? Think about what's the healthiest thing, the best thing that's going to make you the strongest that you can eat for breakfast. Maybe think about it that way instead of thinking, well, I always get Pop-Tarts, so I'm going to get Pop-Tarts. Maybe you like steak, and maybe steak is better for you for breakfast than Pop-Tarts, and you like it better. Why not get steak for breakfast? And again, I'm not telling you to eat steak for breakfast. I'm telling you to think critically. I don't care if you want to eat a pickle and a block of cheese for breakfast. Do it that's probably healthier than a Pop-Tart. I'm just telling you to look at it a different way. Think critically. Study something. Pray about it. Figure out if something is good or bad by its nature, if something is true. And again, we determine that by the Word of God. Don't be afraid to stand out and be different. Again, by definition, alpha males stand up and stand out. With that, men, I want to say thanks for listening and have a blessed day. As a thanks for staying tuned to the end, tactical tip. Tactical tip of the day. You'll know if you listen, I'm big on EDC type stuff. Everyday carry. If you've listened for any length of time, you know that I'm also a big proponent. Again, I know everybody shaves with these plastic razors with like 50 blades on them. I'm a big proponent of shaving with one sharp blade, the old school safety razors, just like your grandfather used. They're cheap. They work just as good as a modern razor with like 5 blades, and they're much less cost. They're much simpler. Anyway, that's not the tactical tip of the day. Those straight razor blades that come in a safety razor, or even like a utility razor blade, if you can safely store one of those in your wallet, they're a good thing to have. They don't take the place of a good EDC knife, but they're good for fine work, like you got a wicked splinter in your hand and you want to cut it out. Maybe having one of those wrapped up in 2 pieces of duct tape so it's not a safety issue. Caveat, don't do this if you fly a lot. You may forget and they just make you throw it away or whatever. But a safety razor blade or an actual like utility razor blade in your wallet, they're flat. They go between 2, cards that you don't use very much and a piece of tape. But they can be really handy. Like I said, for cutting out a splinter, for cutting something that you need something really, really sharp and really, really thin. Anyway, it's a good, just simple EDC tip. You probably have those lying around. The tactical verse of the day will come from the book of James. Who is wise and understanding among you? Let him show by good conduct that his works are done in the meekness of wisdom. Thanks, men. Have a blessed day.